Principal Victoria Hartwell grabbed the microphone and pointed directly at Marcus Thompson. "Security, remove this janitor from my stage immediately." The auditorium fell silent. 300 parents watched as two guards seized Marcus by the arms and dragged him toward the exit. His 12-year-old daughter Lily screamed from the front row, "Daddy!" But what Principal Hartwell didn't know, what nobody in that room knew, was that Marcus Thompson had been hiding a secret for 15 years. A secret that would expose her darkest lie and bring her entire career crashing down. Before we continue, I'd love to know, where are you watching from today? Drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this story travels. The mop hit the floor with a wet slap. Marcus Thompson had been cleaning Lincoln Heights Academy for 6 years. 6 years of invisible labor. 6 years of, "Excuse me," without eye contact. 6 years of parents stepping around him like he was furniture. He didn't mind. Invisible meant safe. Invisible meant steady paycheck. Invisible meant Lily could attend one of the best schools in the district without paying a dime in tuition. That was the deal. Work nights, clean classrooms, empty trash cans, and his daughter gets a future. Worth it. Every single night. Marcus pushed his cart down the empty hallway, wheels squeaking against polished floors. 9:45 p.m. The building was dead quiet except for the hum of fluorescent lights. He stopped outside the auditorium. The double doors were propped open. Inside, a single spotlight illuminated the grand piano on stage. They'd been rehearsing for the annual showcase all week. Tomorrow night was the big event. Marcus stood in the doorway, staring at that piano. His hands started to shake. "Don't," he whispered to himself. "Don't do it." But his feet were already moving, across the auditorium, up the side stairs, onto the stage. The piano bench creaked as he sat down. Marcus lifted the fallboard, revealing the keys. White and black. Perfect and waiting. He hadn't touched a piano in 15 years. Not since the audition that destroyed everything. Not since he froze on stage in front of the Chicago Symphony Selection Committee. Not since his dreams died in 4 minutes of silence. His fingers hovered over the keys. "Eleanor," he breathed. His wife's name. Gone 5 years now. Breast cancer. She'd fought like hell, but the bills piled up faster than hope. She used to beg him to play. "Marcus, your gift didn't die. You just buried it." He'd shake his head. "That part of me is gone, baby." "No," she'd say, pressing her palm against his chest. "It's right here, waiting." Now, alone in this empty auditorium, Marcus pressed a single key. The note rang out pure and clear. Then another, and another. His hands remembered what his mind tried to forget. The melody came flooding back. Eleanor's song. The piece he'd started writing for their wedding but never finished. Marcus closed his eyes and played. For 10 minutes, he wasn't a janitor. He wasn't invisible. He wasn't a widower drowning in grief and medical debt. He was himself again. The music swelled, filling every corner of the auditorium. Jazz runs melted into classical phrases. Blues chords ached with beauty. It was messy and raw and absolutely alive. When the last note faded, Marcus sat motionless, tears streaming down his face. Then he heard the slow clap. His blood turned to ice. "Well, well, well." Principal Victoria Hartwell emerged from the shadows of the back row. Her heels clicked against the floor like a countdown to execution. "Our custodial staff has hidden talents," she said, her voice dripping with something that wasn't quite amusement. "How touching." Marcus stood quickly, nearly knocking over the bench. "Principal Hartwell, I apologize. I was just..." "You were just what?" She stopped at the base of the stage, looking up at him with cold, blue eyes. Trespassing? Misusing school property? Or simply forgetting your place? It won't happen again, ma'am. No, she said slowly. It certainly won't. She pulled out her phone and took a photo of him standing by the piano. Ma'am, please, go finish your shift, Mr. Thompson. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. We'll discuss this tomorrow. Marcus couldn't sleep that night. He sat at the kitchen table in their small apartment, staring at his hands. The same hands that had just played better than they had in 15 years. The same hands that might cost him everything. Daddy? He looked up. Lily stood in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. 12 years old and already carrying too much worry for a child. Hey, baby girl, what are you doing up? I heard you come in. She padded over and climbed into the chair beside him. You okay? Marcus forced a smile. I'm fine, just thinking. About Mama? The question hit him in the chest. Yeah, about Mama. Lily reached over and took his hand. Her fingers were small but strong. I had a dream about her last night, she said. She was playing piano, and she was laughing. You remember how she used to laugh? Marcus nodded, not trusting his voice. She told me to tell you something. What's that? Lily looked at him with Eleanor's eyes. She said you're not done yet. The next morning, Marcus walked Lily to school like he did every day. It was their ritual. She'd talk about homework and friends and whatever drama was happening in 7th grade. He'd listen and nod and feel grateful for every ordinary moment. Today, Lily was quiet. You sure you're okay, Daddy? I'm sure. Because you look worried. Do I? You've got that face. She scrunched up her features in an exaggerated frown. That face. Despite everything, Marcus laughed. I do not look like that. You absolutely do. They reached the front gates of Lincoln Heights Academy. The building loomed like a cathedral of privilege. Ivy climbing brick walls, manicured lawns, European cars lining up for drop-off. And there, standing at the entrance like a sentinel, was Principal Hartwell. She was talking to a group of parents, but her eyes found Marcus immediately. That thin smile appeared again. Go on in, baby, Marcus said. I'll see you tonight. Lily hesitated. Daddy, why is Principal Hartwell looking at you like that? Like what? Like you're in trouble. Marcus bent down and kissed her forehead. Everything's fine. Go learn something. I love you. Love you more. He watched her disappear through the doors, then turned to leave. Mr. Thompson! Hartwell's voice stopped him cold. A moment, please. She approached with 2 other administrators flanking her. Vice Principal Sandra Chen, a nervous woman who always looked like she was about to apologize, and Robert Graves, head of security, built like a refrigerator with a badge. My office, Hartwell said. Now. The walk through the school felt like a death march. Teachers paused their morning preparations to watch Marcus pass. Students whispered behind their hands. By the time they reached the administrative wing, Marcus could feel the target on his back burning. Hartwell's office was immaculate. Diplomas lined the walls. Awards gleamed on shelves. A large portrait of herself hung behind the desk. She gestured to a chair. Sit. Marcus sat. Hartwell took her place behind the desk, fingers steepled. Chen and Graves remained standing by the door, like guards. I've been reviewing your personnel file, Mr. Thompson. She opened a folder. 6 years of employment. No formal complaints. Acceptable performance reviews. Thank you, ma'am. I wasn't finished. Her eyes hardened. I also found some interesting gaps in your background check. You attended the Chicago Conservatory of Music. Dropped out 3 months before graduation. Care to explain? Marcus's jaw tightened. Personal circumstances. Personal circumstances, she repeated. You mean you choked at your symphony audition and couldn't recover? The words hit like a slap. How do you know about that? Hartwell smiled. I know many things, Mr. Thompson. I know you were considered one of the most promising young pianists in the Midwest. I know you had a full scholarship. I know you threw it all away because you couldn't handle pressure. She leaned forward. And I know your wife was Eleanor Thompson, formerly Eleanor Davis. Marcus's heart stopped. Oh yes, Hartwell continued, savoring his shock. Eleanor Davis, the music teacher who tried to destroy my career 10 years ago. The one who filed those ridiculous discrimination complaints. The one who almost cost me everything I'd worked for. Those complaints were legitimate, Marcus said, his voice low. You sabotaged her promotion. You spread lies about her credentials. Allegations, never proven. Hartwell waved her hand dismissively. Your wife was a troublemaker, and now here you are, her widower, playing piano in my auditorium like you belong there. She stood, walking slowly around the desk. Let me be perfectly clear, Mr. Thompson. I don't care how well you play. I don't care about your dead dreams or your dead wife. What I care about is maintaining order in my school. Marcus rose to his feet. Don't you talk about Eleanor. Or what? Hartwell's smile widened. You'll complain? File a report? Who do you think they'll believe? The principal with 20 years of exemplary service? Or the janitor with a chip on his shoulder? The room vibrated with tension. Chen shifted uncomfortably. Victoria, perhaps we should... Quiet, Sandra. Hartwell never broke eye contact with Marcus. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to forget you ever touched that piano. You're going to do your job and nothing more. And if I ever catch you overstepping again, I'll make sure you never work in this district again. She returned to her chair. Are we clear? Marcus stood motionless, fists clenched at his sides. Every instinct screamed at him to fight back, to expose her, to defend Eleanor's memory. But then he thought of Lily. Lily, who loved this school. Lily, who had friends here. Lily, who had a chance at a real future if he just kept his head down. Crystal clear, he said through gritted teeth. Good. Hartwell opened another folder, already dismissing him. You may go. That afternoon, Marcus sat in the janitor's closet during his break, staring at the wall. His phone buzzed. A text from Raymond Delacroix, the music teacher. Heard what happened. Meet me in the music room after hours. We need to talk. Marcus typed back. Nothing to talk about. The response came immediately. Eleanor would disagree. At 6 p.m., Marcus found Raymond alone in the music room, sitting at an old, upright piano. Raymond Delacroix was 73 years old, with silver hair and hands that had played in jazz clubs across New Orleans before settling into teaching. He'd known Eleanor for years, had been one of the few who stood by her during the complaints against Hartwell. Close the door, Raymond said without turning around. Marcus did. She finally showed her true colors, didn't she? Raymond played a soft chord. Hartwell's been waiting for an excuse to go after you since the day you were hired. You knew? Of course I knew. Raymond turned to face him. Why do you think I've kept my distance from you all these years? Any association with Eleanor's husband would have given her ammunition. Marcus sank into a chair. So what am I supposed to do? Just take it? That depends. Raymond's eyes were sharp despite his age. What do you want? I want to protect my daughter. And what else? Marcus was silent. I heard you playing last night, Raymond said softly. I was in my classroom grading papers. Sound carries in this old building. Marcus looked up. You're better than you were at 22, Marcus. Pain does that. Turns raw talent into something deeper. Raymond leaned forward. Eleanor always said you were the real musician in the family. She was right. That life is over. Is it? Raymond reached into his bag and pulled out a flyer. The annual showcase, tomorrow night. $25,000 scholarship prize. Parents can perform too. The proceeds go to the scholarship fund. He slid the flyer across. Lily's name is already on the list as a performer. Did you know that? Marcus grabbed the paper. Under the student performances, he saw it. Lily Thompson, vocal performance. She signed up last week, Raymond said. She's been practicing in my classroom during lunch. That girl has her mother's voice, Marcus, pure as sunlight. Why didn't she tell me? Because she wanted to surprise you, Raymond paused. She also signed you up. Marcus's blood ran cold. What? Parent performers, third on the list. Raymond pointed to the name. Marcus Thompson, piano. No. Marcus pushed the flyer away. Absolutely not. It's already public. The whole school knows. Then unsign me. Take my name off. Only the performer or principal can do that. Raymond's expression was grave. And somehow, I don't think Hartwell will be eager to remove you from a list that guarantees your public humiliation. Marcus buried his face in his hands. This can't be happening. It's happening. Raymond stood, walked over, and placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. The question is, what are you going to do about it? That night, Marcus sat on the edge of Lily's bed while she pretended to be asleep. I know you're faking, he said. One eye opened. How do you always know? Because you snore when you're really asleep. I do not. Like a little freight train. Lily sat up, hugging her pillow. Are you mad about the showcase? Marcus sighed. Why didn't you tell me? Because you would have said no. You're right. I would have. That's why I didn't tell you. She looked at him with those eyes. Eleanor's eyes. Daddy, I've heard you. Late at night, when you think I'm asleep. Your fingers tapping on the table. Humming songs. You miss it so much it hurts. Baby, Mama used to tell me stories, Lily interrupted, about when you were young, about how you played at clubs and people would cry because the music was so beautiful. She said your gift was the reason she fell in love with you. Marcus felt his throat tighten. I want people to see what I see, Lily said. I want them to know my daddy is more than the man who cleans their floors. What other people think doesn't matter. But it matters to me, Lily's voice cracked. Do you know what they call you, the other kids? The janitor. Like that's all you are. Like you're nobody. And I have to just sit there and pretend it doesn't hurt. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Marcus pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. You're not nobody, Daddy. You're somebody. And I want everyone to know it. They held each other in the darkness. Finally, Marcus pulled back and wiped her tears with his thumb. If I do this, he said slowly, it's not going to be easy. There are people who don't want me to succeed. People who will try to stop me. I don't care. You might get hurt. They might come after you, too. Lily lifted her chin. Mama always said Thompson women don't back down. I guess Thompson men shouldn't either. Despite everything, Marcus laughed. When did you get so smart? I learned from watching you. He kissed her forehead. Okay, he whispered. Okay. Really? Really. He looked her in the eyes. But we do this together, you and me. Deal? Lily threw her arms around his neck. Deal. The next morning, Marcus arrived at school early. He walked past the maintenance office, past the janitor's closet, past all the invisible spaces he'd occupied for 6 years. He walked straight to the main bulletin board. The showcase sign-up sheet hung there, covered with names. He found his own. Marcus Thompson, piano. Someone had drawn a crude picture next to it, a stick figure with a mop. Marcus stared at it for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket, pulled out a pen, and wrote next to his name, Eleanor's Song, Original Composition. He stepped back. The hallway was starting to fill with students. A few stopped to look at the board, then a few more. "Is that the janitor?" someone whispered. "He's playing an original? No way he can actually play." Marcus ignored them all. He had exactly 12 hours to remember how to perform. 12 hours to face the ghost that had haunted him for 15 years. 12 hours until everything changed. Raymond was waiting in the music room when Marcus arrived. "You did it," the old teacher said, a smile spreading across his weathered face. "I saw your name on the board. Original composition." "Don't congratulate me yet." Marcus closed the door behind him. "I haven't played in front of an audience in 15 years. Last time I tried, I froze. Completely. 4 minutes of silence in front of the most important people in the music world. That was then. That was me." Marcus paced the room, running his hands over his head. "I'm still that same man, Raymond, the one who chokes when it matters." Raymond rose slowly from his chair and walked to the grand piano that dominated the corner of the room. He lifted the fallboard and gestured to the bench. "Sit." "Raymond, sit down, Marcus." Something in the old man's voice made Marcus obey. He lowered himself onto the bench, his hands trembling slightly as he placed them on the keys. "Play something," Raymond said. "Anything." "I don't know if I can." "You played beautifully 2 nights ago when you thought no one was listening. The only difference now is that I'm here." Raymond pulled a chair close and sat down. "So pretend I'm not." Marcus stared at the keys. 88 of them, stretching out like a challenge. His fingers remembered their positions, remembered the muscle memory built over thousands of hours of practice. But his mind was screaming warnings. "You'll fail. You'll freeze. You'll humiliate yourself and Lily." "Marcus." Raymond's voice was gentle. "What did Eleanor used to tell you?" The question caught him off guard. "What?" "When you were struggling, when the doubt crept in, what did she say?" Marcus closed his eyes. He could hear her voice, soft and certain. She said the music isn't mine. I'm just the vessel. My job is to get out of the way and let it flow through." "Then get out of the way." Marcus took a deep breath. He thought of Eleanor, her smile, her laugh, the way she'd rest her head on his shoulder while he played at home, humming along to melodies only they knew. He pressed the first key. The note hung in the air, pure and lonely. Then another, and another. Within seconds, the melody began to take shape. Eleanor's Song. The piece he'd started for their wedding and never finished. The piece that had lived incomplete in his heart for 17 years. He played for 10 minutes straight, not thinking, just feeling. The music poured out of him. Grief and love and loss and hope, all tangled together in a tapestry of sound. When he finally stopped, Raymond was wiping his eyes with a handkerchief. "My God," the old man whispered. "Marcus, that's—" "It's not finished." Marcus looked down at his hands. "I never knew how to end it. Even when she was alive, I couldn't find the right notes." "Then find them now." Raymond leaned forward. "You have 12 hours. That's enough time to discover what you've been running from." "What if I can't?" "What if you can?" Raymond stood, placing a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Eleanor believed in you. Lily believes in you. It's time you started believing in yourself. The door burst open. Sandra Chen stood in the doorway, her face pale and anxious. "Mr. Thompson, you need to come with me. Principal Hartwell wants to see you immediately." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "What's this about?" Raymond demanded. "I don't know." Chen wouldn't meet their eyes. "She just said it's urgent." Raymond grabbed Marcus's arm as he stood. "Don't let her intimidate you. Whatever game she's playing, don't give her the satisfaction." "I don't have a choice." "You always have a choice." Raymond's grip tightened. "Remember that." Marcus followed Chen through the hallways, past clusters of students who fell silent as he passed. Word had spread about his name on the showcase list. He could feel their stares, some curious, some mocking, some something else entirely. They reached Hartwell's office. Chen knocked twice, then opened the door. "Mr. Thompson? Ma'am?" "Send him in." Marcus entered. The door clicked shut behind him. Hartwell sat behind her desk, a stack of papers in front of her. She didn't look up. "I understand you've signed up for the showcase." "Yes, ma'am." "An original composition, no less." She finally raised her eyes. "Eleanor's song. How touching." Marcus said nothing. "You know," Hartwell continued, leaning back in her chair, "I've been thinking about our conversation yesterday. Perhaps I was too harsh. After all, everyone deserves a chance to pursue their passions." The sudden shift in tone put Marcus on edge. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I support your participation in the showcase," she smiled. "In fact, I insist on it." "I don't understand." Hartwell stood and walked to the window, her back to him. "Do you know what I've learned in 20 years of educational administration, Mr. Thompson? That some lessons are better taught through experience than instruction." She turned to face him. "You want to play piano in front of the entire school community? In front of parents and donors and board members? In front of your daughter?" Her smile widened. "Be my guest. I think it will be educational." Marcus understood then. She wasn't trying to stop him. She was counting on him to fail. Publicly. Spectacularly. In a way that would humiliate both him and Lily beyond recovery. "You're hoping I'll choke." "I'm hoping you'll show everyone exactly who you are." Hartwell returned to her desk. A janitor who cleans toilets and empties trash cans. A man who reached for greatness once and fell short. A cautionary tale about knowing one's place. "You're wrong about me." "Am I?" She tilted her head. "We'll see tonight, won't we? Now get back to work. Those hallways won't mop themselves." Marcus left her office with his hands shaking. But not from fear. From anger. A rage so deep and pure it burned away every doubt, every hesitation. She wanted to destroy him? Let her try. The morning passed in a blur of routine tasks. Mopping floors, emptying trash, fixing a leaky faucet in the third-floor bathroom. All while the music played in his head. Eleanor's song running on an endless loop as he searched for the ending that had eluded him for so long. During lunch period, Marcus slipped into the auditorium to practice. He had just sat down at the piano when a voice startled him. "Mr. Thompson?" He turned to find a teenage boy standing in the aisle. White kid, maybe 16, wearing a varsity jacket. Marcus recognized him. Tyler Mitchell, son of David Mitchell, one of the school's biggest donors. "Yeah?" Tyler shifted nervously. I wanted to say something." "Make it quick, I've got work to do." "I know you teach piano." Marcus froze. "What?" "Some of the younger kids talk about it. How you show them things during cleanup. Chord progressions, scales. There's this 6th grader, Danny Okafor. He says you're the reason he learned to play." Marcus hadn't realized anyone had noticed. Those moments, teaching a kid a few chords while emptying classroom trash, showing another how to position his hands while fixing a broken cabinet. They'd seemed so small. "Danny's got talent," Marcus said carefully. "Just needed someone to show him the basics." "My dad doesn't know I play." Tyler moved closer. "He thinks music is a waste of time. Says I should focus on business, like him. But I've been sneaking into the practice rooms for 2 years, teaching myself." "Why are you telling me this?" Tyler pulled out his phone and showed Marcus a video. Himself playing a complicated jazz piece with obvious skill. "I want you to know you're not the only one hiding." Marcus studied the boy, saw the fear and hope warring in his eyes. Saw someone else who'd been told his dreams didn't matter. "You're good," Marcus said. "Really good." "Thanks." Tyler pocketed his phone. "I'll be in the audience tonight, and I'll be cheering for you, no matter what happens." He walked away before Marcus could respond. At 3 o'clock, Marcus took his break in the janitor's closet as usual. He was eating a sandwich and reviewing mental sheet music when his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Check your locker." His stomach tightened. He abandoned his lunch and hurried through the hallways to the maintenance area, where staff lockers lined the wall. He saw it before he reached his locker. Red spray paint, dripping like blood. "Nobody." The word screamed at him, covered the entire surface of his locker, and spilled onto the ones beside it. Marcus stood frozen, unable to move, unable to breathe. "Oh my God!" Lily's voice, behind him. He spun around. His daughter stood at the end of the hallway, her backpack clutched to her chest, her eyes wide with horror. "Baby, what are you doing here? You should be in class." "I came to wish you luck for tonight," her voice cracked. "Daddy, who did this?" "I don't know." "We have to tell someone. We have to report it." "No." Marcus moved to block her view of the locker. "No, we don't." "But—" "Lily, listen to me." He gripped her shoulders gently. "If we make a big deal of this, they win. Whoever did this wants us to react. They want us to give up. They want us to feel like we're nobody." Tears streamed down Lily's face. "You're not nobody." "I know that. You know that." He pulled her into a hug. "And tonight, everyone else will know it too." "I hate them." Lily's voice was muffled against his chest. "I hate all of them." "Don't let hate win, baby. That's what they want." He pulled back and wiped her tears. "We win by being exactly who we are. By refusing to let them define us." "How can you be so calm?" Marcus thought about the truth. That he wasn't calm at all. That rage was burning through him like wildfire. That every instinct screamed for vengeance. But Lily didn't need to see that. "Because I've got something worth fighting for," he said. "You. Your future. Your mama's memory." He kissed her forehead. "Now get back to class. I've got a locker to clean." After Lily left, Marcus found a bucket and scrub brush. He worked on the graffiti for an hour, but the red paint had soaked into the metal. The word "nobody" remained visible, ghost-like, no matter how hard he scrubbed. Finally, he stepped back, breathing hard. "Giving up?" He turned to find Raymond approaching, his face grave. "Can't get it off." "I wasn't talking about the paint." Raymond examined the locker. "This was Hartwell's doing, or someone following her orders." "I know." "And you're still going to perform tonight?" Marcus picked up his bucket. "Now more than ever." Raymond nodded slowly. "Good. Because I did some digging today. Made some calls to old friends who were around when Eleanor filed those complaints against Hartwell." "What did you find?" "The missing piece." Raymond lowered his voice. "Eleanor wasn't just passed over for the music director position. She had evidence. Documents proving Hartwell falsified her credentials when she first applied for the principal job 20 years ago. Marcus felt the floor shift beneath him. What? Hartwell's teaching certificate was fake. Eleanor found the original records, was going to report it to the board. That's why Hartwell destroyed her, to protect herself. How do you know this? Because Eleanor told me, right before she planned to go public. Raymond's eyes were haunted. Then the theft accusations happened, the forged evidence. Eleanor's reputation was destroyed, and no one would believe anything she said. My wife died thinking she was a failure, Marcus said slowly, thinking everyone believed she was a thief. And Hartwell has been living with that secret for 15 years. Every time she looked at you, she saw the man who could expose her, the husband of the woman she destroyed. Everything clicked into place. Hartwell's hatred wasn't just prejudice, it was fear. Fear that the truth would eventually emerge. Fear that Eleanor's ghost would finally get justice. I need proof, Marcus said. Without evidence, it's just my word against hers. There might be a way. Raymond glanced around to make sure they were alone. Eleanor kept copies of everything. She was meticulous like that. Where would she have hidden them? Marcus thought. Their old apartment had been cleaned out after her death. He donated most of her belongings, too devastated to sort through them. But there was one box he'd never opened. One box he'd shoved in the back of his closet and refused to touch. Her personal effects from the hospital. I might know, he said. At 4:30, Marcus rushed home. Lily was at school, preparing for her own performance, so he had the apartment to himself. He went straight to his closet and pulled out the dusty box he'd avoided for 5 years. His hands shook as he opened it. Her wedding ring. A few photographs. The copy of their favorite book that she'd been reading when she died. A letter she'd written to Lily to be opened on her 18th birthday. And at the bottom, a manila envelope. Marcus pulled it out. Eleanor's handwriting on the front. For Marcus, open when you're ready to fight. Inside were documents, dozens of them. Original records, photographs of files, handwritten notes in Eleanor's precise script. Everything she'd gathered on Victoria Hartwell. The fake teaching certificate. Letters from the university Hartwell claimed to have attended, stating they had no record of her. A timeline connecting Hartwell's rise to the systematic destruction of anyone who threatened her. Eleanor had known everything, and she'd trusted Marcus to finish what she started. He sat on the bedroom floor, surrounded by his wife's final gift, and wept. At 6 o'clock, Marcus arrived at the school. The parking lot was already filling up. Parents in evening wear emerged from expensive cars. Local news vans set up equipment near the entrance. A banner hung across the front of the building. Lincoln Heights Academy Annual Showcase. Marcus entered through the service entrance, still in his work clothes. He carried a garment bag, the only suit he owned, purchased second-hand for Eleanor's funeral. In the maintenance room, he changed quickly, studying his reflection in the spotted mirror. The suit was old, but clean. The tie was the same one Eleanor had given him for their 10th anniversary. The shoes were scuffed, but polished. He didn't look like a janitor anymore. He looked like a man with something to prove. At 6:30, Raymond found him backstage. Nervous? Terrified, Marcus managed a weak smile. But not the same terror as before. This time I have something bigger than fear. What's that? Purpose. Raymond clasped his shoulder. Eleanor would be proud. I hope so. A production assistant approached. Mr. Thompson, you're third in the lineup. Parent performers go after the student acts, about 90 minutes from now. 90 minutes? an eternity and an instant all at once. Marcus watched from the wings as the first performers took the stage. A string quartet of ninth graders, a sophomore playing classical guitar, a group of seniors performing an a cappella arrangement. The auditorium was packed, standing room only. He spotted David Mitchell in the front row, looking bored. Board members scattered throughout, teachers and staff filling the sides. And Hartwell, center front in a crimson dress, smiling like a queen surveying her domain. She caught Marcus's eye and raised her glass of champagne in a mock toast. Let the games begin. 7 o'clock. The student performances continued. A freshman stumbled through a piano piece, clearly nervous. A junior's voice cracked during her vocal solo. A magic act went wrong when the rabbit escaped. The audience applauded politely for each, but Marcus sensed their restlessness. They were waiting for something extraordinary. 7:30. A commotion near the entrance. Marcus peered out to see men in suits entering the auditorium. Board members he didn't recognize. And behind them, a woman with silver-streaked hair and an air of authority. "Who's that?" he asked a nearby stagehand. "Dr. Patricia Wells, superintendent of schools. She almost never attends these things." Marcus's pulse quickened. Word must have spread about the controversy. The superintendent was here to watch either his triumph or his downfall. 7:45. "Ladies and gentlemen," the MC announced, "our next student performer is making her showcase debut. Please welcome 7th grader Lily Thompson." Marcus's heart stopped. He hadn't known she was performing this early. Lily walked onto the stage, small and vulnerable under the spotlight. She wore the blue dress Eleanor had bought her 3 months before she died, now let out and altered to fit a growing girl. She approached the microphone stand, looked out at the sea of faces, and froze. "No." Marcus gripped the curtain. "No, baby, don't freeze." Seconds stretched into eternity. The audience began to murmur. Someone coughed. Lily stood motionless, her eyes wide with terror. Marcus watched helplessly. He couldn't rush onto the stage, couldn't save her. All he could do was stand there and pray. Then Lily's gaze found his. Through the darkness of the wings, their eyes met. Marcus nodded slowly, placed his hand over his heart. "You've got this, baby." Lily's chest rose and fell. She closed her eyes. When she opened them again, the fear was gone. She began to sing. Her voice filled the auditorium, clear and pure and achingly beautiful. An old jazz standard that Eleanor used to sing around the house. A song about hope persisting through darkness. By the second verse, the audience had gone completely still. By the bridge, tears were streaming down faces throughout the room. When Lily hit the final note, holding it with perfect control before letting it fade into silence, the auditorium erupted. Standing ovation. People on their feet applauding wildly. The superintendent herself was wiping her eyes. Marcus watched his daughter take a bow, her face glowing with joy and relief. "That's my girl. That's Eleanor's girl." Lily rushed off stage and into his arms. "I did it, Daddy! I did it!" "You were incredible." He held her tight. "Your mama was singing with you. I know she was." "Now it's your turn." Lily pulled back, her eyes shining. "Show them who you really are." 8 o'clock. The first parent performer took the stage. A doctor who played mediocre violin. Polite applause. 8:15. A lawyer performed a comedy routine. Scattered laughs. 8:25. "Ladies and gentlemen," the MC announced, Our next parent performer needs no introduction. Please welcome Marcus Thompson. Silence. Then whispers. Confusion rippling through the audience. The janitor? Marcus walked onto the stage. The spotlight hit him like a wave of heat. 300 faces stared back at him. Some curious, some hostile, some neutral. In the front row, Hartwell's smile had turned predatory. "Go ahead," her expression said. "Destroy yourself." Marcus approached the piano, the same grand Steinway he'd played in the empty auditorium 3 nights ago. He sat down, adjusted the bench, placed his hands on the keys. The auditorium held its breath. Marcus closed his eyes. "Eleanor," he thought, "this is for you." The first note broke the silence like a stone dropped into still water. Marcus felt his fingers move almost without conscious thought. The melody began soft and hesitant, the way a memory surfaces from the depths of grief. Eleanor's song, the piece he'd carried inside him for 17 years. The auditorium seemed to disappear. The faces, the lights, the weight of expectation. All of it faded until there was only Marcus and the piano and the ghost of the woman he loved. He played the opening passage, the one he'd written the week before their wedding. Each note was a snapshot of their early days together. Her laugh, her touch, the way she'd look at him like he was the only person in the world. The melody shifted, growing more complex. This was the middle section, composed during the hard years. Medical bills piling up, dreams deferred. Late nights holding Eleanor's hand while machines beeped and doctors delivered news neither of them wanted to hear. Marcus's fingers found chords he didn't know he remembered. Minor keys bleeding into major, despair transforming into defiance. The music told the story of a man who refused to let go, even when letting go would have been easier. In the front row, Hartwell's predatory smile began to fade. This wasn't what she'd expected. This wasn't a nervous janitor fumbling through a simple tune. This was something else entirely. Marcus built toward the bridge, the section where he'd always stopped. The part he could never finish, because finishing meant accepting that Eleanor was truly gone. His hands hovered over the keys. For one terrible moment, the old fear surged up. His throat tightened, his vision blurred. You're going to freeze, just like before, just like Chicago. But then he heard it, Lily's voice, clear and strong, rising from somewhere in the audience. She was humming, the melody of Eleanor's song, the same tune she'd heard him tap on tables and hum under his breath for years. Other voices joined her. Raymond, somewhere in the back. Tyler Mitchell, defying his father's expectations. Students and teachers who'd heard Marcus play through practice room doors. A choir of the invisible, lifting him up. Marcus's hands steadied, and for the first time in 17 years, he played past the bridge. The ending came to him like a revelation, not a final goodbye, but a promise. A declaration that love doesn't end with death, that music carries the souls of those we've lost into the ears of those who need to hear them. The final movement was triumphant and heartbreaking all at once. Marcus poured everything into those last measures. His grief, his rage, his hope, his love. 17 years of silence transformed into 4 minutes of pure, devastating beauty. The last chord rang out and slowly faded. Marcus sat motionless, his hands still on the keys, tears streaming down his face. Silence. Complete and absolute silence. Then, from somewhere in the middle of the auditorium, someone stood up. Then another. Then another. Within seconds, every person in the room was on their feet. The applause was thunderous, overwhelming, a wave of sound that crashed over Marcus and nearly knocked him off the bench. He looked up, blinking against the spotlight. Lily was pushing through the crowd toward the stage, her face wet with tears, her smile brighter than the sun. Raymond was applauding so hard his hands had to be hurting, his old face transformed by joy. Even David Mitchell was standing, a look of stunned respect replacing his usual arrogance. And Hartwell. Hartwell remained seated, her face pale, her hands gripping the armrests of her chair like she was trying to anchor herself to reality. This wasn't supposed to happen. Marcus rose from the bench and took a bow. The applause intensified. Someone shouted, "Encore!" Others took up the cry. He raised his hand for silence. Slowly, the room quieted. "Thank you," Marcus said, his voice rough with emotion. "That piece is called Eleanor's Song. I wrote it for my wife." His eyes found Hartwell's. "Some of you knew Eleanor Thompson. She taught music here, at this very school, 15 years ago. She was brilliant. She was kind. And she was destroyed by lies." Murmurs rippled through the audience. Hartwell's face went from pale to white. "Eleanor discovered something," Marcus continued. "Something that threatened a person in power. So that person manufactured evidence, accused Eleanor of theft, and ruined her career. She spent the last years of her life believing that everyone thought she was a criminal." "This is highly inappropriate," Hartwell said loudly, rising to her feet. "Mr. Thompson, you will stop this immediately." "No." Marcus's voice was steady. "I won't." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded document. "This is a letter from the University of Michigan. It states that they have no record of a Victoria Hartwell ever attending their institution, despite what her official credentials claim." Gasps echoed through the auditorium. "That's a forgery!" Hartwell's voice cracked. "A desperate fabrication from a bitter man." "Is it?" Marcus pulled out more papers. "Because I also have the original correspondence between Eleanor and the State Board of Education. She reported these discrepancies 15 years ago, and somehow her complaint disappeared. Right around the same time she was accused of stealing from the music department." The audience's attention swung between Marcus and Hartwell, like spectators at a tennis match. "You have no right," Hartwell snarled. "You are a janitor, a nobody. No one will believe—" "I believe him." The voice came from the front row. Dr. Patricia Wells, the superintendent, rose to her feet. "I've actually been investigating similar concerns for several months," she continued, her tone ice-cold. "Anonymous tips led us to re-examine certain personnel files. The inconsistencies were troubling." Hartwell's face contorted. "Patricia, surely you can't take the word of this—" "Careful how you finish that sentence, Victoria." Dr. Wells moved into the aisle, positioning herself between Hartwell and the exit. "Security is already on their way. I suggest you remain calm." "This is a conspiracy!" Hartwell's voice rose to a shriek. "A setup! That man has hated me since the day he started working here. He's been waiting for a chance to—" "To what?" Marcus stepped to the edge of the stage. "To tell the truth? To clear my wife's name?" "You're right. I have been waiting. But not because I hated you." He descended the stairs, walking toward her. "I waited because I was afraid. Because you had power and I had nothing. Because every time I thought about fighting back, I remembered what you did to Eleanor. And I couldn't risk losing Lily the way I lost her mother." They stood face to face now, the fallen janitor and the cornered principal. "But tonight, I realized something." Marcus's voice dropped to barely above a whisper, but in the silent auditorium, everyone heard. "Fear is a prison we build for ourselves, and I'm done being locked up." Two security guards entered through the side door. They approached Hartwell, who backed away, her composure finally shattering completely. "Don't touch me! I am the principal of this school. I demand—" "Victoria Hartwell," Dr. Wells said formally. "You are suspended pending a full investigation into credential fraud and the deliberate persecution of Eleanor Thompson. You will be escorted off premises immediately." "No!" Hartwell lunged toward Marcus, her face twisted with rage. "You did this! You and that dead wife of yours! She should have stayed quiet. She should have known her place." The guards grabbed her arms, restraining her. "Let me go!" Hartwell screamed. "This isn't over!" "This isn't—" The auditorium doors swung shut behind her, cutting off her protests. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Lily broke free from the crowd and threw herself into Marcus's arms. "Daddy," she sobbed. "Daddy, you did it!" He held her tight, breathing in the scent of her hair, feeling her heartbeat against his chest. "We did it, baby. Together." The applause started again, different this time. Not the polished appreciation of a performance, but something rawer. Relief. Justice. Joy. Raymond pushed through the crowd, tears streaming down his face. "Eleanor would be so proud," he said, embracing them both. "So incredibly proud." "I know." Marcus closed his eyes. "I finally know." The rest of the evening blurred into a whirlwind of congratulations and questions and camera flashes. News reporters materialized, demanding interviews. Parents who had ignored Marcus for years suddenly wanted to shake his hand. Board members expressed shock and promised thorough investigations. Through it all, Marcus kept Lily close, one arm around her shoulders like an anchor. At some point, David Mitchell approached, Tyler trailing behind him. "Mr. Thompson," Mitchell extended his hand awkwardly. "I owe you an apology." "For what?" "For not seeing." Mitchell glanced at his son. "Tyler told me about the piano lessons. The way you've been teaching kids on the side, not asking for anything in return. I was so focused on what I thought I knew about you that I never bothered to look at who you actually are." Marcus shook his hand. "We all have blind spots." "Dad," Tyler stepped forward. "Tell him." Mitchell sighed. "I've made a few calls. The scholarship committee was impressed by your performance and by the circumstances." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying the $25,000 was supposed to go to the top student performer." Mitchell smiled slightly. "But given everything that's happened, the committee feels it might be more appropriate to establish a different kind of fund. The Eleanor Thompson Music Scholarship. For underprivileged students with exceptional talent." Marcus felt his knees weaken. "I don't understand." "You're not going to have to choose between paying rent and giving Lily opportunities," Mitchell explained. "The scholarship fund will support students like the ones you've been teaching in secret. Kids who deserve a chance but can't afford one." "Why would you do this?" Mitchell looked at his son, then back at Marcus. "Because I almost let my prejudices cost my boy his passion. You showed me what a real father looks like. Someone who fights for his child, no matter what." He extended his hand again. "Consider this my way of making amends." Before Marcus could respond, a commotion near the entrance drew everyone's attention. Sandra Chen, the vice principal, was being led toward the stage by two board members. Her face was streaked with tears, her shoulders shaking with suppressed sobs. "I need to say something," she called out, her voice cracking. "Please, I need to—" Dr. Wells stepped forward. "Mrs. Chen, perhaps this should wait until—" "No!" Chen shook her head violently. "It can't wait. I've been waiting too long already." The room fell silent. Chen approached Marcus, stopping a few feet away. She couldn't meet his eyes. "The piano," she whispered. "I'm the one who destroyed it." Gasps rippled through the audience. "Hartwell told me to do it." Chen's voice grew stronger, as if confession was liberating her. "She said if I didn't, she'd reveal that I had falsified student test scores 3 years ago." She had proof. She's had proof of everything on everyone for years. That's how she controlled us. Sandra, Dr. Wells began. I'm not finished. Chen finally looked at Marcus. The graffiti on your locker. That was Robert Graves. Hartwell told him you were a threat to school security. He didn't even question it. None of us questioned anything. Her legs seemed to give out. She sank into a nearby chair, burying her face in her hands. I was a coward, she sobbed. Eleanor was my friend. She trusted me. And when Hartwell went after her, I stood by. I let it happen. I let her destroy an innocent woman because I was too scared to fight back. Marcus stood over her, emotions warring across his face. Anger, pity, understanding. Look at me, he said quietly. Chen raised her tear-stained face. I spent 15 years being scared, Marcus told her. 15 years letting fear make my decisions. I understand what it's like to feel trapped by someone with power over you. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Maybe not. Marcus crouched down to her level. But you told the truth tonight. That took courage. And Eleanor... He paused, swallowing hard. Eleanor always believed in second chances. Chen broke down completely, her sobs echoing through the auditorium. Dr. Wells signaled to the board members. We'll need formal statements from everyone involved. This is going to be a long night. As the official proceedings began, Marcus felt a hand slip into his. Lily, exhausted but radiant, leaned against him. Can we go home, Daddy? Home. Their small apartment with its leaky faucet and thin walls, and the broken keyboard in the corner. The place where Eleanor had taken her last breath. The place where Marcus had spent 5 years hiding from his grief. Not yet, baby. He kissed the top of her head. There's something I need to do first. He led her through the dispersing crowd toward the side exit. Raymond fell into step beside them. Where are we going? The old teacher asked. The music room. They walked through empty hallways that seemed different somehow. The same walls, the same floors Marcus had mopped 1,000 times, but the weight that had pressed down on him for years was gone. The music room door was unlocked. Raymond flipped on the lights. There, in the corner, sat the old upright piano. Not the destroyed grand, but the battered instrument that had been here for decades. The one generations of students had learned on. The one Eleanor had played during her years as a teacher. Marcus sat down on the bench. Lily, come here. She settled beside him, their shoulders touching. Your mama used to sit with me just like this, Marcus said softly. When we were young and stupid and thought we had all the time in the world. I wish I could remember her better. That's why we have music. Marcus placed his hands on the keys. Music is memory made audible. Every song she loved, every melody she hummed, every note she taught you to sing. That's her, living on through you. He began to play. Not Eleanor's song this time, but something simpler. A lullaby Eleanor used to sing when Lily was a baby. After a few bars, Lily's voice joined in, soft and sweet and achingly beautiful. Raymond stood in the doorway, tears rolling down his weathered cheeks. Father and daughter played and sang together until the song ended and the notes faded into silence. I want to learn, Lily said. Really learn. Like you. You've already got the most important part. Marcus put his arm around her. You've got your mama's heart. And your stubbornness. Despite everything, Marcus laughed. Yeah, you definitely got that. His phone buzzed. A text from a number he didn't recognize. Mr. Thompson, this is Grace Williams. I was Eleanor's mentor at the conservatory. I saw the news coverage and found your number through Raymond. I need to speak with you urgently. There's something about Eleanor you should know. Marcus stared at the message. Daddy? Lily tugged his sleeve. What is it? I don't know yet. He pocketed the phone. But I think tomorrow is going to be interesting. Through the music room window, the first light of dawn was beginning to color the sky. A new day. A new beginning. But Marcus knew, deep in his bones, that the story wasn't over. It was just getting started. Marcus barely slept that night. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything that had happened. The performance, the confrontation, Hartwell being dragged away screaming, Sandra Chen's tearful confession, and that text message from Grace Williams. There's something about Eleanor you should know. What else could there possibly be? How many more secrets had his wife carried to her grave? At 6 a.m, Marcus gave up on sleep. He made coffee, checked on Lily, still sleeping peacefully, her face relaxed in a way he hadn't seen in months, and sat at the kitchen table with his phone. He typed a reply to Grace Williams. I can meet you today. Name the time and place. The response came within minutes. 10 a.m., Morrison's Cafe on 5th Street. I'll be wearing a blue scarf. And Mr. Thompson, bring tissues. You're going to need them. Marcus spent the next few hours cleaning the apartment. It was nervous energy, the need to do something with his hands while his mind raced through possibilities. He scrubbed dishes that were already clean, reorganized the bookshelf, even ironed his only other decent shirt. At 8:30, Lily emerged from her bedroom, rubbing her eyes. Daddy, why are you ironing? Got a meeting this morning. With who? Marcus hesitated. Someone who knew your mama. Lily's sleepiness vanished instantly. Can I come? Not this time, baby. I don't know what she wants to tell me. Could be nothing. Could be... He trailed off. Could be everything, Lily finished. Yeah. She walked over and hugged him from behind, her arms barely reaching around his waist. Whatever it is, we'll handle it. Together. Marcus put down the iron and turned to embrace his daughter properly. When did you get so wise? I learned from watching you. Now I know you're lying. Lily laughed, and the sound filled the small apartment like music. At 9:45, Marcus arrived at Morrison's Cafe. It was a quiet place, the kind of establishment that had existed for decades without ever becoming trendy. Worn wooden tables, mismatched chairs, the smell of fresh coffee and baked goods. A woman sat alone in the corner booth, a blue scarf draped around her shoulders. She was perhaps 70, with silver-streaked hair pulled back in an elegant bun, and dark skin that seemed to glow with an inner light. Her hands, wrapped around a coffee cup, were long-fingered and graceful. Pianist's hands, Marcus recognized. She looked up as he approached, and her eyes, deep brown, almost black, filled with tears. "Oh my," she breathed. "You look just like she described you." "Mrs. Williams?" "Grace, please." She gestured to the seat across from her. "Sit down, Marcus. We have so much to discuss." He slid into the booth, suddenly nervous in a way he hadn't expected. This woman had known Eleanor before Marcus ever met her, had taught her, mentored her, shaped the musician who would eventually become his wife. "Thank you for coming," Grace said. "I know this must be strange, hearing from me out of nowhere." "Why now?" Marcus asked. "Eleanor's been gone 5 years. Where were you when she needed support?" The question came out sharper than he intended, but Grace didn't flinch. "I deserved that." She took a sip of coffee, gathering her thoughts. "The truth is, I tried to help Eleanor when Hartwell first went after her. I wrote letters to the board, made phone calls, threatened to go public with what I knew." "What happened?" "Hartwell happened." Grace's expression hardened. "She found out about a mistake I made decades ago, a falsified recommendation letter for a student who didn't deserve to fail. It was nothing compared to her crimes, but it was enough. She blackmailed you. She controlled me, just like she controlled Sandra Chen and God knows how many others. Grace set down her cup. I abandoned Eleanor when she needed me most. I've lived with that shame for 15 years. Marcus felt his anger softening. You're here now. Because of you. Grace reached across the table and took his hand. I watched the video of your performance last night. It's already going viral, you know. Millions of views. What? Someone recorded the whole thing. The music, the confrontation, Hartwell being dragged away. Grace smiled slightly. You're famous, Marcus Thompson. And more importantly, you did what the rest of us were too afraid to do. She released his hand and pulled a manila envelope from her bag. But I didn't come here just to apologize. I came to give you this. Marcus took the envelope. It was thick with papers. What is it? Eleanor's compositions. Grace's voice thickened with emotion. 47 original pieces. She sent them to me for safekeeping the month before she was accused of theft. She knew something was coming. She wanted to make sure her music survived, even if she didn't. Marcus's hands trembled as he opened the envelope. Sheet music spilled out across the table. Handwritten pages covered in Eleanor's precise notation. Sonatas, etudes, jazz arrangements. A symphony. I don't understand, he whispered. She never told me about these. She was waiting for the right time. She wanted to surprise you on your anniversary. Grace wiped her eyes. Then everything fell apart, and by the time she thought about retrieving them, she was too sick to care about music anymore. Marcus picked up one of the sheets. The title at the top read, Marcus's Heart, a love letter in 3 movements. The tears came before he could stop them. She wrote this for me? She wrote everything for you. Grace leaned forward. Eleanor used to tell me that you were the real talent in the family. She said she could technically execute any piece put in front of her, but you had the gift of true expression. You could make a piano weep, or laugh, or scream. She never said that to me. She was afraid you'd stop playing if you knew how good you were. Grace smiled sadly. Eleanor understood something about genius. It's fragile. It needs protection, especially from itself. She wanted to guard your gift until you were ready to claim it. Marcus sat in stunned silence, turning pages of his wife's music. Compositions he'd never heard, melodies she'd kept hidden. A lifetime of creativity preserved in ink and paper. There's one more thing, Grace said. The piece at the bottom of the stack. He dug through the papers until he found it. A single sheet, different from the others. Not music, but a letter, written in Eleanor's handwriting, addressed to him. My dearest Marcus, if you're reading this, it means Grace finally found the courage to give you these compositions. It also means I'm probably gone, and for that, I'm sorry. I want you to know that the years we spent together were the best of my life. Every morning I woke up next to you was a gift. Every moment watching you with Lily was a blessing. You gave me more happiness than I ever deserved. But I also need to tell you something I could never say out loud. Something I was too afraid to admit while I was alive. You are not a failure, Marcus Thompson. You never were. The audition in Chicago, the one you think destroyed your career. I was there. I snuck into the back of the auditorium to watch. And what I saw wasn't a man who choked. I saw a man who felt too much. The music overwhelmed you because you weren't just playing it. You were living it. That's not weakness. That's the rarest kind of strength. I've spent 15 years watching you hide from your gift, punishing yourself for a moment of vulnerability. And it broke my heart every single day. So here's my final request, my last wish, my dying hope. Play again. Not for me, not for our daughter, for yourself. The world needs your music, Marcus, and more importantly, you need it. It's the truest part of who you are. I'll be listening. Wherever I am, whatever comes next, I'll be listening. All my love, forever. Eleanor. P.S. Finish our song. You know the one. I never could figure out the ending, but I know you will. You always did understand hope better than me. Marcus couldn't breathe. He read the letter 3 times, his tears falling onto the paper, blurring the ink. She knew, he finally managed. All those years. She knew I was still that scared kid from Chicago. She knew everything about you, Grace said gently. And she loved you anyway. That's what real love is. Marcus carefully folded the letter and pressed it against his chest, over his heart. What do I do now? Grace reached over and tapped the stack of compositions. You share her music with the world. Every piece she wrote deserves to be heard. And based on what I saw last night, you're the only one who can do it justice. I'm not sure I'm ready. No one ever is. Grace stood, gathering her purse. But Eleanor believed in you, Marcus. I believe in you. And based on the way that little girl of yours looked at you last night, she believes in you too. She placed a business card on the table. When you're ready to perform these pieces, call me. I still have connections in the music world. We'll make sure Eleanor Thompson's name is never forgotten. Grace leaned down and kissed his forehead. Play beautiful, Marcus. Play for all of us who were too afraid. And then she was gone. Marcus sat in that booth for another hour, reading through Eleanor's compositions, hearing the music in his head, feeling his wife's presence in every note. Finally, he gathered the papers, tucked them carefully back into the envelope, and walked out into the sunlight. His phone was buzzing with notifications. Missed calls from numbers he didn't recognize. Texts from Raymond, from Tyler, from names that meant nothing to him. And an email from the school board. He opened it with trembling fingers. Dear Mr. Thompson, the Board of Education for Lincoln Heights School District requests your presence at an emergency meeting this afternoon at 3 p.m. Your attendance is required regarding matters that will significantly impact your future relationship with Lincoln Heights Academy. Please confirm your availability. Sincerely, Dr. Patricia Wells, Superintendent. Marcus checked the time. 1:30. He had an hour and a half to get home, check on Lily, and figure out what fresh hell was waiting for him. But something felt different this time. Instead of dread, he felt curiosity. Instead of fear, anticipation. Whatever they wanted, he would face it head on. He was done hiding. At exactly 3 o'clock, Marcus walked into the school board conference room. The space was packed. Board members lined one side of the table. Dr. Wells sat at the head, her expression unreadable. Raymond was there, along with several teachers Marcus vaguely recognized. David Mitchell sat in the corner, his arms crossed. And in the front row of chairs reserved for observers, Lily waited. She jumped up when she saw him. "Daddy, they wouldn't tell me what's going on." "That makes 2 of us, baby." Marcus squeezed her hand. "Raymond, what is this?" The old teacher smiled mysteriously. "Just sit down and listen." Marcus took a seat beside Lily, his heart hammering. Dr. Wells cleared her throat. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice. As you know, recent events have created a significant upheaval at Lincoln Heights Academy. Principal Hartwell has been formally terminated, and criminal charges are pending. Vice Principal Chen has resigned, and several other staff members are under investigation." She paused, scanning the room. "This leaves us with a problem. Lincoln Heights needs leadership. Stable, trustworthy, inspiring leadership." Marcus felt the weight of everyone's eyes on him. After extensive discussion, The board has reached a unanimous decision. Dr. Wells picked up an official-looking document. We are creating a new position, Director of Music and Arts Education. This role will oversee all musical programming, manage the scholarship fund, and develop outreach initiatives for underprivileged students. She looked directly at Marcus. Mr. Thompson, we would like to offer you this position. The room fell silent. Marcus couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't process what he'd just heard. "Daddy," Lily whispered, gripping his arm. "Daddy, did she just—" "We're aware that you don't have traditional credentials," Dr. Wells continued. "But your obvious talent, your dedication to students, and frankly, your courage in exposing corruption make you uniquely qualified for this role." David Mitchell stood up. "If I may add something?" Dr. Wells nodded. "The Mitchell Foundation has pledged $500,000 over the next 5 years to support this position and the Eleanor Thompson Music Scholarship." He looked at Marcus with something approaching respect. "My son told me what you did for him, how you saw his potential when I refused to. I've been a fool, and I'm trying to make amends." "I don't know what to say," Marcus finally managed. "Say yes," Raymond called out. "For God's sake, Marcus, say yes." "But I'm a janitor. I don't have a degree. I don't have—" "You have everything that matters." Dr. Wells's voice softened. "You have talent. You have integrity. You have the trust of students who've been watching you teach them on the side for years." "We've talked to them," another board member added. "Danny Okafor, Tyler Mitchell, a dozen others. They all say the same thing. You taught them more about music in 10-minute conversations than their formal instructors taught them in years." Marcus looked at Lily. Her eyes were shining with tears of joy. "Do it, Daddy," she whispered. "This is what Mama wanted. This is why she made you promise to play again." He thought of Eleanor's letter, pressed against his heart. "Play for yourself. The world needs your music." "Okay," Marcus said, his voice cracking. "Yes, I'll do it." The room erupted in applause. Raymond rushed forward to embrace him. Board members lined up to shake his hand. Even David Mitchell offered a genuine smile. Through it all, Lily held onto her father's arm like she'd never let go. When the commotion finally died down, Dr. Wells approached with one final piece of news. "There's one more thing, Mr. Thompson. The Showcase Scholarship was supposed to go to the top student performer. After reviewing the performances, the committee has selected a winner." She turned to Lily. "Miss Thompson, your vocal performance was extraordinary. The $25,000 scholarship is yours." Lily's jaw dropped. "What? But there were so many good—" "None of them sang with your heart," Dr. Wells smiled warmly. "Your mother would be proud." Father and daughter held each other in the middle of that crowded conference room, crying and laughing at the same time. Everything they'd lost, everything they'd suffered, everything they'd fought for, it had all led here. Later that evening, Marcus sat in the now empty auditorium. The same auditorium where he'd been humiliated. The same stage where he'd reclaimed his voice. The same piano that had witnessed his transformation. He played softly, working through Eleanor's compositions one by one, learning the music his wife had kept hidden all those years. Footsteps echoed in the darkness. Raymond appeared in the aisle, walking slowly with his cane. "Thought I might find you here." "Couldn't stay away." Marcus didn't stop playing. "These pieces, Raymond, they're incredible. She was better than I ever knew." "She was brilliant." Raymond settled into a seat in the front row. "But she always said you were the one with the magic." "I don't know about magic." "I do." The old teacher leaned forward. "I've been teaching music for 40 years. I've seen prodigies and pretenders and everything in between. But I've never seen anyone play the way you played last night. That wasn't just skill, Marcus. That was soul. Marcus let the melody fade. What do I do now? The board says I'm the new director of music, but I don't even know where to start. You start by showing up, every day. And you do for other kids what no one did for you. You see them. You hear them. You give them permission to dream. That sounds simple. The best things usually are. Raymond stood, groaning slightly. Now go home and get some rest. You've got a lot of work ahead of you. He was halfway up the aisle when Marcus called out, "Raymond!" The old man turned. "Thank you for believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself." Raymond smiled, his weathered face creasing with warmth. "That's what teachers do, son. We hold the light until our students are ready to carry it themselves." He disappeared into the shadows, leaving Marcus alone with the piano. Marcus played until his fingers ached, until the janitor in him was finally completely gone. In his place sat a musician, a teacher, a father reborn. The next morning, Marcus woke to find Lily already dressed and making breakfast. "What's all this?" he asked, surveying the eggs, toast, and orange juice arranged on the table. "Celebration breakfast," Lily grinned. "First day of our new life." They ate together, talking and laughing like they hadn't in years. The shadow of grief was still there, would always be there, but it no longer blocked out the sun. At 8 o'clock, Marcus's phone rang, a number he didn't recognize. "Hello? Mr. Thompson? This is Jennifer Davis from NPR's Morning Edition. We've been trying to reach you all night. We'd like to interview you about your incredible story. The video of your performance has over 5 million views and climbing." "I'm sorry, 5 million? And counting. You're trending worldwide, Mr. Thompson. The janitor who became a viral sensation. People are calling it the most inspiring story of the year." Marcus looked at Lily, who was watching with wide eyes. "I appreciate the interest," he said slowly. "But any interview needs to focus on my wife, on Eleanor Thompson. She's the real story here." There was a pause on the line. "Of course, we'd be honored to tell her story alongside yours." "Then let's talk." After hanging up, Marcus sat down heavily. "Daddy?" Lily reached across the table. "You okay?" 5 million people, he murmured. 5 million people heard me play. 6 million now, probably." Lily pulled up her phone. "It's everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. Everyone's sharing your performance and talking about what happened to Mama." Marcus scrolled through the comments. Thousands of them. "This made me cry at work. That man's talent is unreal. Justice for Eleanor Thompson. I need the full story on this corrupt principal. That little girl's voice. The whole family is gifted." For so many years, Marcus had been invisible. A ghost moving through spaces meant for other people. Now the whole world was watching. "Are you scared?" Lily asked. Marcus thought about it. Really thought. "No," he finally said. "I'm ready." 6 months changed everything. Marcus stood in what used to be the janitor's supply closet, now transformed into his office. A small space, but his own. On the wall hung Eleanor's compositions, framed and preserved. On his desk sat a photo of their wedding day, next to a crayon drawing Lily had made when she was 5. Stick figures of their family, with the word "music" scrawled underneath in wobbly letters. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. "Mr. Thompson?" A young face peered in. Danny Okafor, the 6th grader he'd taught piano basics to during late-night cleaning shifts. "The assembly's starting in 10 minutes. "Thanks, Danny. I'll be right there." The boy hesitated. "Mr. Thompson?" "Yeah?" "I just wanted to say Thank you for everything. Marcus smiled. You did the work, Danny. I just showed you where the keys were. That's not what I mean. Danny stepped fully into the office. Before you taught me, I thought music was for other people. Rich people, white people. Not kids like me from neighborhoods like mine. And now? Now I know that's a lie. Danny stood a little taller. Now I know the only thing that matters is whether you're willing to put in the work. Marcus felt his throat tighten. This was why he'd said yes to the position. Not for the title, or the salary, or the recognition. For moments like this. Get to the auditorium, Marcus said, his voice rough. Save me a good seat. Danny grinned and disappeared. Marcus took one last look around his office, then grabbed Eleanor's letter from his desk drawer. He'd read it so many times the paper was soft as cloth, the ink fading in places from his tears. He tucked it into his jacket pocket, over his heart. Time to go. The auditorium was packed to capacity. This wasn't the usual school assembly. This was the dedication ceremony for the Eleanor Thompson Music Center, a new wing of the school, funded by donations that had poured in after Marcus's story went viral. The Mitchell Foundation had contributed the largest share, but thousands of smaller gifts had arrived from around the world. $5 from a single mother in Detroit, $20 from a retired music teacher in Arizona, $100 from a famous pianist who'd seen the video and wept. Eleanor's name would live on in brick and mortar, in practice rooms and concert halls, in the dreams of children who'd never known her but would benefit from her legacy. Marcus entered through the side door and found Raymond waiting in the wings. "How are you holding up?" the old teacher asked. "Nervous as hell." "Good. Means you still care." Raymond adjusted Marcus's tie. "Eleanor would be proud of you." "I hope so." "I know so." Raymond's eyes were bright with emotion. "I've been teaching for 43 years, Marcus. I've seen a lot of good people do a lot of good things. But what you've built in 6 months? It's extraordinary." The Eleanor Thompson Music Scholarship had already helped 15 students afford instruments and lessons. The after-school program Marcus had created served over 100 kids from underserved neighborhoods. 3 of his students had already been accepted into competitive summer music programs. And it was just the beginning. "Ladies and gentlemen," the MC announced from the stage, "please welcome our Director of Music and Arts Education, Marcus Thompson." The applause was thunderous. Marcus walked onto the stage, squinting against the lights. In the front row sat Lily, now 13, looking more like Eleanor every day. Beside her was Tyler Mitchell, who'd come out to his father about his musical ambitions and received unexpected support. Behind them were rows of students, teachers, parents, and community members who'd watched Marcus's transformation from invisible janitor to inspirational leader. And in the very back, leaning against the wall with her arms crossed, stood a familiar figure. Grace Williams had traveled from Chicago for the ceremony. Marcus approached the podium and adjusted the microphone. "I'm not very good at speeches," he began. "For most of my life, I didn't think my words mattered. I didn't think I mattered." He paused, scanning the faces before him. But then something happened, something I never expected. I was forced to stop hiding, forced to confront everything I'd been running from, forced to play again. His voice cracked slightly, but he pushed through. "My wife Eleanor believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. She saw my gift when I only saw my failures. She kept my music alive even when I tried to let it die." He pulled her letter from his pocket and held it up. "Before she passed, Eleanor wrote me a letter. I'd like to read part of it to you now." The auditorium fell completely silent. You are not a failure, Marcus Thompson. You never were. The world needs your music, and more importantly, you need it. It's the truest part of who you are. Marcus folded the letter carefully. For 15 years, I ignored those words. I hid in the shadows, convinced that my moment had passed. I watched from the sidelines while life happened to other people. He looked directly at Lily. But my daughter wouldn't let me stay hidden. She signed me up for a talent show without my permission. Laughter rippled through the audience. Lily blushed and smiled. That act of defiance, that stubborn, beautiful, terrifying act of love, changed everything. It forced me to face my fears. It forced me to fight for my family's honor. It forced me to become the man Eleanor always believed I could be. Marcus stepped back from the podium and gestured toward the banner hanging behind him. Eleanor Thompson Music Center. This building isn't just a memorial. It's a promise that no child's talent will go unnoticed because of their zip code. A promise that no dream will die because of someone else's prejudice. A promise that music, real music, soul music, the kind that changes lives, will always have a home here. He returned to the microphone. I'd like to end with a performance, something I've been working on for months. It's called Lily's Dawn, and I wrote it for my daughter, who gave me the courage to step into the light. Marcus walked to the grand piano at center stage. As he sat down, he caught Lily's eye. She was crying, but smiling through her tears. I love you, baby, he mouthed. I love you too, Daddy, she mouthed back. Marcus placed his hands on the keys and began to play. The piece started soft, like the first light of morning breaking over a dark horizon. Gentle notes that spoke of hope emerging from despair, of strength rising from weakness, of love surviving loss. As the melody developed, it grew more complex. Jazz riffs intertwined with classical structure. Blues chords ached beneath triumphant progressions. The music told the story of a man who'd lost everything and found himself, of a daughter who'd believed when no one else did, of a wife whose spirit lived on in every note. Marcus played with his eyes closed, feeling Eleanor beside him the way he always did when he touched the keys. She was there in the music, her presence as real as the piano beneath his fingers. The piece built toward its climax, a soaring, triumphant melody that seemed to lift the entire auditorium. People were crying openly now. Students, teachers, board members, even David Mitchell, who'd once dismissed Marcus as nothing more than hired help. The final chord rang out, pure and perfect. Silence. Then an explosion of applause. The audience rose as one, a standing ovation that seemed to go on forever. Marcus stood from the bench and bowed, overwhelmed by the response. Lily rushed the stage, throwing herself into his arms. That was beautiful, Daddy. That was you, baby. That was all you. Raymond joined them, then Tyler, then Danny, then dozens of students who'd been touched by Marcus's teaching. They surrounded him in a mass of hugs and tears and laughter. Grace Williams pushed through the crowd and took Marcus's face in her hands. Eleanor is dancing right now, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Wherever she is, she's dancing. After the ceremony, Marcus found himself alone on the stage. The auditorium was empty, the lights dimmed. Everyone had gone to the reception in the new music center, but he needed a moment to process everything that had happened. He sat at the piano, running his fingers lightly over the keys without pressing them. You did it, Eleanor, he whispered. We did it. The silence seemed to answer him. A warmth spread through his chest, the same warmth he used to feel when she'd rest her head on his shoulder during late-night conversations. I finished our song, he continued. Finally found the ending. You were right. It was about hope. It was always about hope. He heard footsteps behind him and turned. Victoria Hartwell stood in the aisle. She looked different, smaller, her designer clothes replaced by a simple gray dress, her imperious posture reduced to something almost humble. The criminal charges against her had resulted in a plea deal, probation and community service in exchange for a full confession. Marcus's first instinct was anger. This woman had destroyed Eleanor's career, had tried to destroy him, had built her empire on lies and cruelty. But looking at her now, all he felt was pity. "What are you doing here, Victoria?" "I don't know." Her voice was barely audible. "I saw the news coverage, the dedication. I needed to see it for myself." "See what?" "What my lies cost." She took a tentative step forward. "I've had a lot of time to think these past months, about what I did, about who I hurt, about why." Marcus said nothing. "I grew up poor," Hartwell continued. "Dirt poor. My father was a janitor, actually, just like you. He died cleaning up other people's messes, and my mother spent her whole life telling me I'd end up the same way if I didn't claw my way to the top. So you lied about your credentials." "I did what I thought I had to do to survive," Hartwell's voice cracked. "And then I spent 20 years terrified that someone would find out. Eleanor was the first person who got close to the truth, so I destroyed her." "You destroyed an innocent woman." "I know." Tears streamed down Hartwell's face. "I know what I did. I've lived with it every day. And when I saw you up there just now, playing that music, surrounded by all those people who love you," she broke down completely. "I realized that I never had that. Never had anyone who loved me for who I really was. Because I never let anyone see the real me. I was so busy being what I thought I needed to be that I lost myself entirely." Marcus listened to her sobs, feeling the anger drain away. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked quietly. "Because I owe you an apology, a real one." Hartwell wiped her eyes, struggling to compose herself. "Not because my lawyer told me to. Not because it might help my case. Because I was wrong. Because Eleanor was a good person, and I destroyed her out of fear and jealousy. Because you deserved better." She took a breath. "I'm sorry, Marcus. I'm so deeply, profoundly sorry." The words hung in the air between them. Marcus thought of Eleanor, of the letter she'd written, of her belief in second chances. "I don't forgive you," he said finally. "Not yet. Maybe not ever. What you did to Eleanor, to my family, that's not something words can fix." Hartwell nodded, accepting this. "But I'm not going to carry your burden anymore," Marcus continued. "I spent 15 years letting your cruelty define me, letting your lies shape my choices. That's over now." He stood and walked toward her. "You want to make amends? Then do something with whatever time you have left. Help someone. Lift someone up instead of tearing them down. Become the person your father hoped you'd be instead of the monster your fear created." Hartwell looked at him with something like wonder. "You really believe people can change?" "I have to." Marcus gestured toward the empty auditorium. 6 months ago, I was mopping these floors and hiding from my own potential. Now I'm dedicating a building named after my wife. If I can change, anyone can." He walked past her toward the exit. "Goodbye, Victoria. I hope you find what you're looking for." He didn't look back. The reception was in full swing when Marcus arrived at the new music center. Students played instruments in the practice rooms. Parents admired the state-of-the-art equipment. Teachers discussed curriculum plans with obvious excitement. In the main hall, a jazz quartet performed. All students from Marcus's program, playing a piece Eleanor had written 30 years ago. "There you are," Lily appeared at his elbow, holding 2 cups of punch. I was starting to worry. Just needed a minute. I saw her leave. Lily's voice was careful. Hartwell, I mean. You saw? From the window. She handed him a cup. Are you okay? Marcus considered the question. Was he okay? The woman who destroyed his wife's career had just apologized to him. He'd somehow found the strength not to scream at her, not to demand more than words could ever provide. Yeah, he said, surprising himself. I think I am. Good, Lily smiled. Because there's someone who wants to meet you. She led him through the crowd to a corner where an elderly black woman sat in a wheelchair. Her white hair was pulled back in an elegant bun, and despite her obvious frailty, her eyes were sharp and clear. Mr. Thompson, Lily announced. This is Mrs. Dorothy Thompson, no relation. She came all the way from New Orleans for the dedication. Marcus knelt beside the wheelchair. Mrs. Thompson, thank you for coming. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Her voice was thin, but strong. I saw your performance at the showcase, the video, I mean. Watched it 17 times. I'm honored. I taught music for 52 years, Dorothy continued. Started in a one-room schoolhouse in Louisiana before the Civil Rights Movement. Taught through segregation, integration, budget cuts, and every other obstacle they threw at us. She reached out and took Marcus's hand. In all that time, I never saw anyone play like you. And I never saw anyone fight for their family like you did. I just did what I had to do. No. Dorothy squeezed his hand with surprising strength. You did what most people are too afraid to do. You stood up. You spoke out. You refused to let them make you invisible. She pulled him closer. That's the real music, son. Not the notes on a page. Not the technique or the training. It's the courage to make yourself heard when everyone's telling you to be quiet. Marcus felt tears threatening again. Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. Thank you. She released his hand. Now go enjoy your party. You've earned it. The evening wound down slowly. Students reluctantly headed home, already planning practice schedules in the new facilities. Parents lingered over coffee, sharing stories about their children's musical progress. Teachers gathered in small groups, energized by the possibilities ahead. By 9 o'clock, only the core group remained: Marcus, Lily, Raymond, Grace, Tyler, and Danny. They sat in a circle in the main hall, the jazz quartet's instruments still set up around them. This feels like the end of something, Tyler said quietly. And the beginning of something else, Danny added. Both can be true. Raymond stretched his old bones. That's what transitions are. Endings and beginnings all mixed up together. Grace looked at Marcus. So what's next? You've got the whole world watching now. Marcus considered the question. Over the past months, he'd received offers from music schools, recording studios, concert venues. People wanted him to tour, to record albums, to become the kind of celebrity that filled stadiums. But that wasn't who he was. I'm going to stay here, he said. Right here, at Lincoln Heights, teaching kids, building the program, making sure Eleanor's legacy means something. You could do so much more out there, Grace pressed. Your talent deserves a bigger stage. My talent is exactly where it needs to be. Marcus looked around at the young faces surrounding him. This is my stage. These kids are my audience. Everything else is just noise. Lily leaned against his shoulder. I'm proud of you, Daddy. I'm proud of you too, baby. He kissed the top of her head. And your mama's proud of both of us. Raymond stood, groaning slightly. On that note, I think this old man needs to get home. These bones don't stay up as late as they used to. One by one, they they said their goodbyes. Grace promised to visit again soon. Tyler headed off with his father, who'd waited patiently through the whole evening. Danny's mother collected him, with tears in her eyes and words of gratitude she couldn't quite articulate. Finally, it was just Marcus and Lily. They walked through the empty music center, turning off lights as they went. The building was quiet now, but Marcus could feel its potential humming beneath the silence. Practice rooms that would soon ring with scales and etudes. Recording studios that would capture young voices finding their power.
Concert halls that would launch careers not yet imagined.
"Daddy?" Lily's voice was sleepy. "Yeah, baby?" "Do you think Mama can see all this?" Marcus stopped walking. He thought about the question. Really thought about it. "I don't know if she can see it," he finally said. "But I know she can feel it. Every time one of these kids picks up an instrument, every time someone learns a new piece, every time music brings a little more light into a dark world." He put his arm around his daughter. "That's what she wanted, Lily. Not fame or recognition, just more music in the world, more beauty, more hope." She got it. She got it. They reached the main entrance. Marcus turned for one last look at the building that bore his wife's name, Eleanor Thompson Music Center. For 15 years, he'd let the world convince him he was nobody, a failure, a janitor who'd once had dreams but learned his place. But Eleanor had never believed that. She'd seen his potential even when he couldn't. She'd kept his music alive even when he tried to let it die. She'd loved him, not despite his pain, but through it. And now, finally, he understood. The music had never been just about sound. It was about showing up, about being seen, about refusing to let fear or prejudice or failure define who you are. Marcus Thompson had spent his whole life learning that lesson. Now it was his turn to teach it. He took Lily's hand and stepped out into the night. Above them, the stars shone bright and clear. The same stars Eleanor had looked at during her final days, when she'd whispered her hopes for the future she wouldn't see. "Let's go home, baby," Marcus said. "Okay, Daddy." They walked together through the darkness, two survivors of grief and injustice who'd found their way back to the light. Behind them, the music center stood silent and waiting. Tomorrow it would fill with children's voices, with scales and arpeggios, with the beautiful noise of dreams being born. But tonight, it simply existed as a testament to what was possible when one person refused to stay invisible, when one person chose to play, when one person proved that the janitor they laughed at could become the man who changed everything. And in the end, that was the only truth that mattered. Not where you started, not what they called you, not how many times you fell. Just whether you found the courage to stand up, step into the light, and let the world hear your song. Marcus Thompson had found that courage, and his music would echo through these halls forever.